Here is me, age 21. I just started out investing and I've got a confession to make. Without realizing, I'd actually built an investment portfolio for this guy, which is ChatGPT's version of 50-year-old Mitch. And it potentially cost me thousands of pounds in lost returns. So today I'm going to share with you how your asset allocation should change as you age. I'm also going to share with you 3 specific model portfolios for added context. And I'm going to share the specific shift that I made within my own portfolio in order to get it back on track. This video is also sponsored by 21 Shares, but more on them later. Here I have a chart from JP Morgan, and it looks at the rolling annualized returns between 1950 and 2024 of US stocks and US bonds. Now, 20-year-old me, who's a little bit more fresh-faced than I am now, but still admittedly with the same haircut, his focus would have been straight towards what the 30-year rolling returns look like. After all, I had 3 to 4 decades ahead of me in order to acquire as much wealth as possible. When considering this, over longer periods of time, stocks have provided higher and more consistent returns. 8% on the low end, 15% on the high end, and 10.8% as an average. By contrast, when we look at bonds, well, they've provided lower returns. On the low end, 2% over a 30-year window, which wouldn't even keep up with the rate of inflation. The difference in returns explains why younger investors like 20-year-old Mitch are often more focused on equities in their portfolios. With a longer time horizon, short-term volatility matters less, simply because I don't need the money, and long-term compounding therefore becomes the most important consideration. But on the other end of the spectrum, now let me share with you this photo, which is ChatGPT's version of 60-year-old Mitch who's approaching retirement. Now, I'm not really sure how I feel about looking at myself in another 30 years or so, but hopefully if I get there, then my investment time horizon will obviously be quite a bit shorter. So let's take a look at what investment returns look like with that in consideration. Well, if I draw your attention to the 1-year returns, from a US stocks perspective, you can see the best single year was up 60%, but the worst single year was down 41%. Now, despite average market returns still looking attractive on that 1-year basis, in reality, markets very rarely provide that average rate of return. And in actual fact, markets can swing to the upside and to the downside on any given year. And therefore, when your investment time horizon is short, like it would be for 60-year-old Mitch, that short-term volatility matters even more. Because when retirement is looming, large swings in the value of an investment portfolio can be harder to tolerate. And if we look at the annual drawdown of the S&P 500, well, you'll see exactly what I mean. A 5% drawdown is common, but a drawdown of up to 50% has also been the reality in the last 2 decades. And I know for sure I wouldn't have wanted to have found myself the year before retirement in 2007 with a 100% equity portfolio, only for that to all get put on the back burner because I would have had to have returned to work for probably an extra 5 years just to get back to break even. So the question here is quite simple. If your time horizon is short, how much of your portfolio could you afford to lose in a single year? Well, that really comes down to 2 things. First, your capacity for risk, meaning can you financially afford a loss? And secondly, your appetite for risk, meaning could you actually stomach watching your portfolio fall in value without panic selling? Well, here's a model that maps those 2 things against each other. And if I plot myself at different ages here, you can see a clear diagonal shift over time. That's a general pattern, but risk is personal. And where you sit on that matrix at any age might look very different to where I do. So with that in mind, let's take a look at what that actually looks like in practice using 3 real investment portfolios. Let's begin with the first one, which is the Vanguard model. It's largely congruent with the Vanguard Target Retirement Fund model, whereby the closer that you get to retirement age and beyond, you have a reducing exposure to shares and an increasing exposure to bonds. Now, if we refer back to that JP Morgan returns model, you can see from the orange bar, which is a 60-40 stock bond split, how this has the potential to reduce volatility within a portfolio across all timeframes. The aim of this portfolio mix is to reduce volatility and risk the older that you get. And if you go on to Vanguard's website and search for target retirement funds, you can plug in your current age and target retirement age into a calculator, and it will give you the split between bonds and shares you'd be allocated based on the correlating fund. Now, just to be clear, I'm not recommending these funds, but what I'm just trying to show you is how an asset manager like Vanguard would treat the asset allocation within your portfolio, depending on what age you are and what age you plan to retire. But we've only really touched on the correlation here between stocks and bonds, which perhaps is the more traditional model for an investment portfolio. So now let's talk a little bit more about alternative assets that could be put into an investment portfolio to optimize returns. Let's now talk about the modern portfolio. This one has a small cryptocurrency allocation to it, which of course isn't for everybody, but I wanted to share with you the research nonetheless. Now, the research took that 60/40 model portfolio that we just discussed, and it adapted it to a portfolio that is perhaps more representative of a high-risk investor, as it has a crypto allocation. I think this more modern approach to investing, if you can call it that, is important to acknowledge, given that about 12% or roughly 7 million people now hold crypto in the UK. So the model looks at the last 3 years worth of performance between 2022 and 2025, and you can see the return, volatility, and largest peak through trough of a traditional portfolio. But when adding a 5% allocation to Bitcoin and reducing equity exposure to 55%, the research concludes that annual returns increased, but volatility only increased by 1%, and the peak to trough fall was consistent. And even a marginally greater allocation to Bitcoin increased returns further to 19%. It is worth bearing in mind, though, that this model hasn't got like a long-term time-tested track record, given that we're only looking at the past 3 years worth of data. And actually, given Bitcoin's most recent volatility, I think I need to see more data on this before putting a serious allocation of it in my investment portfolio. But having said that, if the research shows that adding a small amount of crypto to a portfolio can optimize returns, I guess the practical question is, how do you actually add it without the technical headache of digital wallets and private keys? Well, this is where 21 Shares, the sponsor of today's video, comes in. They specialize in crypto ETNs, or exchange traded notes, which is a regulated security that tracks the price of a cryptocurrency. Now, as these ETNs are listed on the London Stock Exchange, they are 100% physically backed, meaning the actual underlying cryptocurrency is held in an institutional grade cold storage by a custodian. Now, at the turn of the tax year, crypto is now no longer available inside of a stock ISA, but you can still get access to it through some providers' general investment accounts. But to stay up to date on all things crypto ETNs, well, you can scan the QR code up here on screen, which will take you over to 21 Shares website. Alternatively, you can click on the link down in the description below. But do remember, crypto is a high-risk investment and may result in the total loss of capital invested. Please inform yourself in advance of these risks, and if you want more information on those risks, then be sure to visit the 21 Shares website. Okay, now let's talk about the third and arguably the most complex model, which is the all-weather fund. It was one that was formed in 1996 by Ray Dalio, who is a famous hedge fund manager, and this portfolio is all about achieving diversification without reducing returns. The portfolio was created from understanding different economic environments that investors have faced in the past and that they might also face in the future, and as such, this quadrant was created. It's a mixture of asset classes that have a negative correlation with one another. Here's what that means in practice. When stocks do well because of economic growth, they contribute to the portfolio's gains. But when markets fall because of a recession, long-term bonds often rally. And when inflation spikes, commodities and gold typically do well. It's like holistically looking at an investment portfolio, selecting a little bit of everything, and then kind of sitting back and thinking, well, I've got all my bases covered here. Pros and cons to this, of course, along with the other portfolios that we spoke about, but let me share with you the most recent investment returns that these three portfolios have generated. Of course, these are just a snapshot in a moment in time, and some are less historically reliable than others. And those models may be great starting points and are probably quite appealing in terms of the rates of return on offer, but they are just templates. The truth is, though, that my investment portfolio doesn't marry up to any of those investment portfolios exactly, and yours shouldn't have to either. And here's why that realization was perhaps one of the most expensive lessons I've ever learned. Looking back at 21-year-old me again, I now realized that I was quite confused about all of this asset allocation stuff. And fundamentally, I made a huge mistake. Because back in 2017, when I made my first investment, these are the three investments that I made. Now, when I break down the percentage allocation of those investments, I had a 31% allocation to bonds and a 69% allocation to equities. But here's the issue, when mapped up against that Vanguard model, I was investing like 55-year-old Mitch, not 20-year-old Mitch. This was me playing it far too safe because I was afraid that I would lose 50 quid in case the markets took a turn for the worse, completely blinded by the fact that it could potentially cost me thousands of pounds worth in gains using this approach. By 2018, I'd realised that investing £100 a month into bonds wasn't giving me the growth I needed, and so I stopped investing in them. And I moved to an 89% allocation to stocks and 11% allocation to bonds. I completely flipped my investment strategy and I went even more aggressive than even the Vanguard model suggests. Looking back, 21-year-old Mitch didn't make a mistake burning bonds. The mistake fundamentally was made from not understanding my asset allocation at the time and how that aligned to my investment goals. Because let me just be honest, at that age I had a stable income And I had no need for short-term cash, and I had decades ahead of me in terms of my investment time horizon. So in light of that, a more aggressive approach probably would have been better for me personally. And that's not me saying that every 20-year-old should be 100% allocated towards equities, but I feel like I should have been given my risk appetite at the time and how I was set up financially and the investment goals that I had. Having said all that, your asset allocation is personal and it must be aligned to what your risk appetite and capacity is, and it must align to your investment time horizon too. And perhaps most importantly, your ability to stay invested when markets fall. For me, it took me the best part of 5 years to figure this out and actually align my investments with who I was as an investor. Now, armed with all of this knowledge, I've actually started a new series on this channel where I start out investing all over again, starting from scratch with everything that I know today. And if you want to take a look at that video, then be sure to click on this one next. With that being said, I'll see you over in the next one.